Hey, welcome to Wolf's Watch. Glad you're here for part two of the new digital industrial revolution. There's a lot of talk last week, especially Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, CEO and co-founder of NVIDIA, talked a lot about the new digital revolution, digital and parents, but really the new industrial revolution during his keynote presentation at NVIDIA's GTC conference, and I'm just tongue-tied with excitement because there is so much opportunity but also a lot of work that needs to be done in order to stay on the hey, we're really getting a lot out of this side of things as opposed to oh crap, we're getting our butts kicked side of this. So the question I have is, are you as a business leader in the game? Are you ready for it? Are you already starting? Have you been taking advantage of the tools, techniques, the things that are driving the new industrial revolution? Because while 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, when ChatGPT became available to the public, really became a consumer item, that wasn't the beginning, was it? If you've been in the game for a while, you know that there were a lot of things happening behind the scenes before that, for several years before that. And at this point, it's really about, are you making use of it? Do you know what's driving it? We'll come back to that in a second. And we got a suggestion of a good next step, provided you're not panicking. And that's one thing to remember. There's no need to panic. There's a lot of risk. There's going to be a lot of competitive pressure. There's going to be even more complexity in our already leadership complex world, right? As a leader, that's something that you're probably quite familiar with. Just seems to be getting more complicated, and that's just the nature of things for us as leaders, isn't it? Here's what's driving it, and this Jensen Huang did a lot in his presentation uh, to put a fine point on it. There's a new way of computing, new technology that has really matured, and this has been nearly a 10-year run, 8-year run to get from where it started to where it is today. But it is what's being called accelerated computing, and it goes beyond the PCs that we have gotten used to using, that you're using, right? It's sort of now, guess what? We get access to supercomputers that were unthinkable 20 years ago. And this is going to be driving a lot of the AI technology that you will be able to use, that we will be able to use in our businesses, that will create new opportunities for you as an entrepreneur, new opportunities for your business, new opportunities for your team. That's what's driving. So next step is, be familiar, if you're not already, be familiar with what is going on with accelerated computing, what is meant by that, what entails it, how do you get access to it. And there are some incredibly unaffordable ways to go about that for those of us in the entrepreneurial world, right? One of the examples that was used by Mr. Wong at GTC was companies like Siemens. Massive, massive. They are the biggest civil engineering and civil projects company in the world, headquartered in Germany. They do big products. They're building the next generation of cargo ships, for example, is one of the projects they've been involved in. And so things on that scale, they are doing things at scale, at industrial scale, which means there will be things that will be affordable for you that were unthinkable 10 years ago, unthinkable 2 years ago. So dig into that, find out. Now, how do you go about finding out about that? Well, one of the things will be getting into, if you weren't at GTC or didn't sit in the virtual, look at what they've got available online. Unfortunately, that won't be available until I believe it's 30 days after the event, which was last week. So that clock's ticking. So we still got about 4 weeks before that's available to the public. Find out who went. Look at what the discussion is, right? Dig into it more because your competition will be. So you better be, right? Here's a next step that is the one I wanted to talk about. So previous next step, being aware of, learning about accelerated computing, consider that a bonus. From a business leader standpoint, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you need to be working with your team on finding ways that they can experiment with artificial intelligence tools, find out what's going to work, dig in to see what's going on. But here's an effect that happens. You don't know what's possible if you're not playing in the space. This is something that I learned in the late '90s, involved with it when I was involved personally with another tech tech wave like this. And so think about in the '80s, '90s, 1980s, early 1990s in the automotive industry, the creating a new automobile went from 5 years to 3 years. The model year turnovers actually was longer, 5 to 7 went to three. Why? Because one company got really good at being able to create new models that made customers really happy, that their customers really wanted, that new customers were delighted to own, and that was Toyota. Changed the industry. In the mid 90s, that happened in aircraft when the F-18 aircraft being redesigned by McDonnell Douglas's team in St. Louis went from a 10-year development to three. Think about that, from 10 years to three. That kind of massive acceleration. How did they do that? They were using advanced tools. They were using different ways of computing. They were using different ways of organizing their workflow. And they were able to do something that had never been heard of. Got it done in 3 years. It was meant to be a redesign. It was really a whole new aircraft. It was 25% bigger than the original aircraft, the newly designed F-18, the EF Super Hornet. It came in ahead of schedule, underweight, which is massive in the fighter aircraft world, under budget, and over performance. Things that were just considered impossible. And it was through the use of new technologies, things like virtual reality technology in the product development phase. Yes, think about that. 25 years ago, that was technology that was already being worked with at the big industrial companies. So now that is something that's available in this new industrial revolution where there's going to be a lot more simulation tools, 3D simulation at a level that in the late 90s, when we were designing aircraft and launch systems, we were using some rudimentary tools like that, but we did not have the precision, did not have the graphical reality of it to make it a much more powerful tool that could be used by a broader team, which was the real key to getting the kind of performance that the F-18 team did, that the Toyota automotive team did when they were redeveloping their products. Now, I know this is product development. Hold that thought for a second. We'll come back to that, product versus service. So in the product development world, the radical difference was how the work was organized and how the people worked together. So it accelerated everything. Instead of doing a lot of things sequentially, it made it possible to do many things in parallel together. And a lot of that was enabled by the tools that they were using, software tools, computer tools. We were using Silicon Graphics supercomputers, which now aren't anything. Your laptop more likely has more computing power than those computers did. Might not be quite as good at the graphics unless you've got an NVIDIA graphics card in there, which you very well may have. Um, but it's that kind of cycle that's now happening again. And these new tools, accelerated computing, and the software tools, the AI that's being that it enables being created, allows for again changing how the work's done, how the workflow. That's your key strategic advantage. Now we had, excuse me, there were engineers that had an opportunity to learn some of those technologies and play with them, if you will, put air quotes around it, play with them. That made it possible to then go, you know what, we can use this here and get massive advantage out of it. So you need to make sure that you are finding ways to have your team working with artificial intelligence tools so that you're building that knowledge of what's possible, which will then reveal where you can go with it in your business. And that doesn't mean implement it right away. Financial services companies have very much been about, look, we can't do this because of compliance issues. You need to be very careful in that arena. It's heavily regulated. And you just need to make sure that it doesn't have something that goes awry in financial systems. However, they do look for ways to say, hey, how can we have our team, our people start learning about these technologies ahead of when they can safely be deployed into the company? So it's thinking like that. Think out of the box, right? Where is it that you can create a play space for working with the tools to learn it, and then bring that information into your teams and look at how does that affect the way you organize your work? The key is going to be reorganizing how you do business and how everybody relates within the business, which will also be your one strength that no artificial intelligence can ever take away, or replicate. So that makes you competitive viable over the longer term, gives you strategic advantage, and shows you how you can implement the technology. Big win. So do that. Find out, learn more about accelerated computing. I'm just starting to learn about it myself. Two things that I had, excuse me, had watched bubble up in a conversation in technical conversations were CUDA programming, CUDA technology, and tensor technology, which is specific to graphics cards or to NVIDIA's GPUs. That's going to be massively important from a deep dive technical standpoint. Yeah, that's changing. That's bringing a parallel computing, if you will. At my understanding, if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. Want to hear, you know, I'm learning like you. But dig into that, find out what does that really mean to the level you need to. But make sure you've got people on your team and advisors to you personally that are and do have the understanding so they can bring that information in with you. It's a lot of information. Things are moving fast. It's going to be an extremely exciting year. Probably some frustrations along the way, but you know what? There's no reason to panic. And secondly, if you do panic, not you, I know you're not going to panic because you probably wouldn't be listening to Wolf's Watch participating in this conversation. But for those that do panic, they're going to get eaten first, right? So that's why I know you're not panicking because you're not going to be in that group, are you? Nah, no way. I hope you can see this. The lights of Los Angeles behind me here. Found one of my favorite ridge lines that I could broadcast from tonight. Hope you are having an incredible Monday night. This is a masterful Monday. Hope it has been for you. How you moving the ball forward? Want to hear more from you. Thanks for being part of the conversation. This is Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf, and I will see you on the trail. Look at it. What a beautiful view. It's amazing.